think that the market is in for something of a rude awakening on Friday morning. We saw that a million fewer part-time jobs were created in the year to March the 31st in the private sector in the United States. But for the purpose of GDP math, that has to be backed out of the income accounts. And then that will be furthermore backed out of GDP. And that's why in the first quarter of 2001, the first quarter of 2008, it was 15 months before we realized that GDP prints that had a plus sign in front of them were actually negative once you incorporated all these revisions. But the Fed is a bunch of PhDs. They're a bunch of academics. They've had the presentations from the staff. They understand what's to come. And I think that's why they were so much more aggressive than what the market was expecting, right? Just two large banks were expecting that 50 basis point rate cut. MUFG, my good friend George Goncalves, and JP Morgan Chase. They were the only two expecting a 50 basis point. 95 were saying 25, 25, or 25.
We were speaking to another guest this morning talking about the potential Goldilocks scenario for the data this week, because, if the Fed is saying that they're data dependent, then we need to get the numbers that are going to settle that debate on, how fast and when, obviously. And they said that it would be a fairly contained jobless claims report and then a lower PCE. Is that what you think we could see for that plane to make that soft landing?
So we certainly want for that to be the case, right? But we've actually seen 17 straight months with last Friday's data on jobless claims. 17 straight months where Americans have exhausted their unemployment benefits and they've rolled off of employment benefits. We're seeing a record number of part-time jobs in the United States. It's already recaptured the highs that we saw in 2009 because people are saying, well, gee, if I live in the great state of Tennessee, for example, I can only get 16 months of unemployment benefits, whereas if I become an Uber driver or a DoorDash delivery person, I can make $750,000. So we're not even seeing these people pour into the unemployment claims pool. So it's a much different dynamic than it was in 2007, 2008, because the gig economy has exploded in that period.
What makes you worry so much about the U.S. economy that you believe a recession is coming? Because the consensus is more towards a soft landing, and this 50 basis points cut is seen as an insurance cut, right?
Of course. But that didn't work out very well in 2001 or 2007. And again, we have to bear in mind that the Fed is full of
the consumer?
Sorry?
What's so bad about the internals of the economy? Is it the consumer spending?
It is the consumer. And when you see a beige book, which Chair Powell referenced the beige book at the podium, he said we've had 2 weak payroll reports in a row. They look like they're going to be revised negative, actually, for July and August, given the trajectory of the downward revisions. He mentioned the downward revisions themselves. He said that payrolls were artificially inflated, and he mentioned the beige book. That's an internal document that cannot be ignored. All 12 districts nationwide flagged falling consumption. And that's why he specifically referenced the beige book. We've had 3 recent modern-day recessions without consumption declining, and the beige book, an internal Fed document, is already telling them that consumption is contracting nationwide in all 12 Federal Reserve districts.
So is it possible that we see a consumer recession in the U.S., but not an overall economic recession?
Well, I doubt that. You've seen new orders in the ISM report. I mean, we're in a deep industrial recession, and Michigan is telling us this. We have a massive inventory build. Our automobile dealership lots are just full of still 2024 car models and filling up with 2025 car models. Again, at the same time that the consumers simply not able to make big ticket purchases. We've seen a real slowdown in the existing home sales market. That came in as a big downward surprise last week. We're expecting to see more of that when new home sales hit on Wednesday.